Hey there.
Hello, Pastor Aubrey.
How are you?
I am good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well after having a break from last week. Thank you. Thank our audience, our watchers, our viewers for giving us a chance to take a little break there. Um, I needed it.
I
Yeah,
definitely did it.
yeah, back to back stuff. But yeah, I'm grateful to be back this week. How about yourself?
I am. I enjoy having a conversation here with you and everyone else listening in. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's been good. I think the last session we had was beneficial for me. I had a chance to get some things out. Still working through this process of grieving, and grateful for the knowledge that I've been given. Actually, the grace, I should say, and grace being empowered to go through this. And so we're still doing with the waves, but it's good. It's good. Yeah. So today we have our special guest, who is not really a guest because she's been on here a few times. So we're grateful to have Pastor Jalen Smith. How are
Hey,
you, Jalen?
I am alive and living the dream. How about that?
I love it. I love it.
yes.
I heard somebody say that they were living their best life. I'm not really sure what that meant, but I embrace it. So
I'll
yeah,
take it. I will take that too. I'm doing that too a little bit.
yes, yes. You're coming up on a church anniversary.
We are. Our third actually snuck up on me. We are on our third anniversary. Our official anniversary date is Katrina's birthday, September the 9th. But we're celebrating on my birthday, which is September the 11th. So yeah, we'll be celebrating 3 years of the gathering. So I'm pretty excited about that because, it's pretty cool to me at least, because we still new, we fresh. So
Tell our audience a little bit about what the gathering is all about.
so the gathering is a trauma informed small group worship. And what that basically means is that we understand that trauma plays a part in how we see and perceive and experience worship. So we're very sensitive to that. And then also we're small group, which means we have service in our living room, well, in my living room in particular. We're still a regular church, though. We still have, the same types of things. The difference is we do a strong focus on edification. So we have a check-in weekly where we communicate with each other on how our week went, and more than just like, oh, I'm good, like really getting into what we're experiencing. And I have to share too. So it's not just like me listening, but just really communing with our particular body of believers, which is kind of a unique experience. And we love it. We're small, we're happy, and we have a growth plan, but it doesn't involve a building. So,
Okay, that's good. That's good.
yeah.
There is another event that's coming up. Both of you are very involved in leadership for the Arizona trauma informed community. And
Yes.
so tell us about that event.
Trina, you want this one or this one on me too?
Go ahead. You're a guest.
So it's Arizona Trauma Informed Faith Community, and we are having our annual South and Central region program. So we're going to be covering a number of topics. I'm going to be covering grief. Trina, what's your topic
Self
again?
care. Self
I'm
care.
sorry, self
Self.
care for leaders, right?
Yes.
For leaders in particular. So it's going to be a lot of information. We actually have a couple of other really cool breakout sessions. I know I posted the link to the Eventbrite on my particular personal page. And then you can register, it doesn't cost anything. And it's really going to be kind of cool to hear the perspectives of each of our particular speakers. And then I think we have a breakout sessions too. It's pretty awesome. I don't know. I'm kind of excited for it. So I can't wait to see how it goes. And it's September the 25th, which is a Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 noon.
Okay.
And I'll make sure that the link is posted on Facebook, First New Life's Facebook website. I mean, page. Great.
And if we can try to get it on YouTube too, so anybody watching this on YouTube can get it as well. Today we wanted to delve into a topic. I've at least I felt it was a timely topic in regards to parenting children with mental health issues, and whether that be small children or adult children. That there are some challenges with doing that. Many times, parents find themselves trying to figure out, what do I do? What are my options? I have a member who called me, and she'd just been at church, and she was at church that following week. She called me and said that she had a breakdown of some sort, and she was in a facility, and they were getting her staffing together, and I just began to wonder, what do you do as a parent? What do you do as even sometimes as a family member? What are my options? How do I support them in that? Because many times you almost want to throw your hands up, and then you sort of deal with the guilt of it, of not doing something. And so, do I do something or don't I do something? I don't know what to do. So I thought we'd have a conversation about what that's like, and so we can just start there. Let's talk about what it's like.
Yeah. So, in particular, and Sapphire is cool with me sharing. So, Sapphire is recently diagnosed with bipolar mania. So, BPD 1, if you are a kind of a junkie for letters. But it was really tough because I actually had to have her committed involuntarily, which is a process that not a lot of people know about. And also, there's an extreme amount of kind of guilt with that process. I think I cried the entire time filling out the paperwork. Like, that's how heavy it was. But it was a necessary thing because I was concerned for her safety at the time. And now that she's out of the facility, she was in there for about almost a month. Now that she's out of the facility, it's just dealing with her management because she was court ordered a year of treatment, and I'm the one who petitioned for that. So they keep me in the loop for her care. So just kind of concerning myself with that particular process. It was really tough. I got cussed out, and I'm not saying she used cuss words, but like, she went off on me from the facility and told me she hated me and I was a horrible person for putting her in. And as much as you want to be a responsible parent, I don't care who you are. If you hear your kids say, I hate you, that like messes with you like really hard. I was having a really hard time with it, but I knew that it was the right decision ultimately. I got a lot of help. Trina helped me. I think I just got support from lots of different places. And so I was really grateful for that, but it was not an easy position to be in. I don't know, Trina, if you've had to deal with parents who've had to do that with their younger kids, if it's like a lot different or.
I don't think it's ever going to be different when it comes to being the parent in that situation. As a matter of fact, even as a counselor, building that relationship, that's a difficult place to be in, the place where you're in. Because I remember just being responsible for, and not necessarily being responsible, but when you have to call because a client, you identify that they're a safe danger to themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's our responsibility before I move on to the next session to make sure that this person is safe.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So
that determination, because what you identified in this process of involuntary, it doesn't seem like it's understood, and some people may not understand it. I wonder what does that look like when you talk about filling out the paperwork. Were the police involved? What did that entail for you, Jalen?
So basically what you're doing is there's a couple of different ways to do it. I think the easiest way is to go to the actual facility where the person will be housed. My daughter is an adult. And so there's specific rules. So one of the rules is you cannot commit or have a person committed for a mental health issue if it's a drug issue. So if you think that this is something that's related to drug use, then it doesn't count for that. Basically, the only reasons that you can have someone involuntarily committed is if you feel that the person is a danger to themselves or to someone else. Those are really the only things. If you feel like whatever this person is going through is going to make them cause harm to themselves. So that I think Sapphire's issue was that she was threatening to kill a portion of herself, which you can't kill a portion of yourself. You have to kill yourself to do that. So I was concerned for her safety in that regard. So they basically give you this form to fill out, and it's pretty much just a court order form, and you're just filling in what you've witnessed. You also have to see if there's anyone else that's been a part of that experience. So did anyone else witness this or see this? One of the things that I did was I took my oldest child with me to see her and to, kind of just to have another witness with me. And then all of the communications that she had made during that time frame. It was really a rough kind of period. I acted fairly quickly just because I think one of the things is your kid. You know what I'm saying? No matter what's going on, you really know who your kid is. And I knew that she wasn't herself. Okay. The great thing about Sapphire was after being in treatment for a little while, she kind of normalizes on her meds. But those couple of days, it was pretty scary, actually.
And sometimes the police have to get involved. Yes.
Yeah, they came and got her from her home. Sorry, I forgot to answer that part. So yeah, they came to get her. I could have been present, but I didn't want to watch. So they went and got her when I was not there, and then let me know that she had been. Well, actually, I had to call and confirm that she had been picked up.
Okay.
The petitions usually happen if they're not willing to go to a facility, right?
Right.
There's some type of pushback that says, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I got things to do. I got to be at work tomorrow, or so typically it's something like that. And you're like, okay, well, we can't do that. I think specifically in your case, Jaylene, wasn't that?
Yeah, we went to her house, to Sapphire's residence, and I basically tried to convince her. There's a point when someone is manic, which is where she was at. She was in a very manic state, and manic basically means that she's like this really heightened energy. It's really almost like if someone had drunk 5 energy drinks at once. So she's at this very heightened energy level, and she's basically just kind of rambling on. And I tried in a way to not combat at her, because one of the things is you can't really go against her, like, you need to go, and you can't get aggressive. You really have to kind of ease into a communication so that the person continues to interact with you so you can get a feel for it. But we asked her, in no uncertain terms, would she be willing to go to a facility? And her response was basically, I don't need help. And I was like, well, I mean, all right, well, I'll just go, and you need help, boo. But I didn't combat her. I simply asked her a couple of different ways if she was willing to go. And when her answer was no, I went to the facility. I didn't keep pressing her to try and make her go.
Okay. That's good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I think what happens and I guess when you a parent or someone who doesn't know, because it's sort of this behavior that is not recognizable as you're needing a facility. I think, and I could be wrong, but sometimes we minimize some of the things that people do. And so we say things like, well, that's just the way they are. And not realizing that, listen, this is extreme. And if we don't do something about it, it will get even worse. Right. And so, and even to the point where, like you said, you're not even hurting themselves, but hurting someone else on top of that. I know of one individual whose daughter went through that, and when they went through that process, I think she was driving, and she was driving erratically, right? And so at that point in time, you become a danger to yourself and to everyone else. And but it's I don't think it's any easier to do involuntary in that situation than it is that's something for example that someone has identified they're going to commit suicide or try to take their own life. So in both of those instances, I don't think either one of them is easy.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the thing is because I do, even though this was my experience, I do also know others who've had experiences that were similar. And regardless of, what decision you have to make with an adult child, you really kind of toe this line between their autonomy, and autonomy is just a fancy word for their own personal decision making, between their own, free will and understanding the severity of what could potentially happen. There is a very clear line. The problem with us as parents, though, is that we just don't want to have to do this. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to have to go and do this for my child, and then but that that's really the only way. Like it was for me, it was very tough because I knew better. This is what I do for a living. So as soon as I saw the signs, I was like, oh no, this ain't gonna be good. But I had to really, as a parent, say, I cannot ignore this behavior or dismiss it, because if I do, I'm not a good parent. Like my parenting didn't end when Sapphire turned 18. She's
Okay.
gonna be my kid forever. So how do I reconcile that with what I'm seeing? And I had to like really get out of myself because it's really a pride issue. It's what I'm a good parent, I'm doing the right thing. No, it's not about you today. It's about this person that you have the responsibility to still watch and care for. Is something is wrong and you need to make a decision and you need to do it quick. I didn't ask for nobody else to decide for me. I was looking for help on how to get it done. I knew that this was the right thing to do ultimately, but it still sucked. I don't know if you could say that on, church TV, but it sucked. It wasn't a good experience to have to make that decision. It was very heavy. I was very depressed about the situation overall, even though she's now doing extremely well.
Yeah.
And there's always the other side to that, right? So you made the best decision knowing that there are consequences if you don't make that decision. Because I think it was about maybe almost 5 years ago when I lost my cousin to a situation to where her and I had a conversation and she was like, this guy is clearly manic. I told his mom, I told his brother, and they're not doing anything about it. They were all living in the same home. And it was her brother-in-law or his uncle. And so they didn't do anything about it. And as a result, my cousin lost her life. Right. So it's knowing now, the mom has to deal with her grandkids not having their mother around, and then her son who could have gotten the help when my cousin identified that he needed the help. Now he's in prison or awaiting trial or going to trial, I think, where it stood recently. But
Isn't there this fine line between the stigma and the diagnosis, that there is this challenge of I don't want anyone to have this diagnosis.
Um,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I think the thing about it is like the stigma feels like it's not like their diagnosis somehow. It's like, oh, this is on me. It's not on you, boo boo. Like, I don't know if you're watching and your child is doing all kinds of manner of things that are not natural and in a good space. Like, it is not on you if this person makes decisions or has some sort of a mental challenge. Like, it's not on you. And I think a lot of parents don't really know that. I mean, I know it's a good thing to have your kid in therapy, but this is what I do for a living. Like, if you don't do this for a living, if this is not something that you have as a regular part of the conversation, then it's not the same, vibe. For me, I knew even though I knew better, it was hard. But when I didn't know better and I saw things in my kids, it was way harder to say, dang, maybe they need to go to therapy. Like, because I felt like it was a failing for me. It really did feel like it's my fault that this is happening versus this is a mental health issue that really doesn't have anything to do with how I am or who I am as a parent. So yes, it is a very fine line between that stigma and that like wanting to be a good parent.
The one of the things I was watching the other day when it came to even with COVID is that they were talking about children going back to school and the challenges, not just because of the physical part of it, but the emotional part. The re-entering, the socialization, because we have all of these stipulations now how to socialize, and you know the distance and the mask and all of the things that come along with it, and that is traumatic. And it can be more traumatic for some children than it was for others. If you were a child who was like me, sort of an introvert, not not really to be thrown into this situation and then to be isolated on top of it, can be difficult to now try to be reintroduced. I went to I don't know how many 5 or 6 different schools, and so when you think about being away and then being put back in, trying to connect to people all over again, how what do you do as a parent to support them in this, because there can be lots of anxiety, right? Because a lot of us are anxious anyway because now we're concerned about whether or not can I get this, can I breathe, should I hold my breath, just the kind of, do I touch, don't I touch, and that's as an adult, but even with children, all of this, I mean, this, we're living in sort of this anxious culture,
Yeah.
and to distinguish what's not necessarily needing inpatient treatment, but what about these behaviors that are compulsive as a result of the trauma. Does that
I've
make
act- it does. I've actually shared with some clients that it'd be different if your anxiety, there was nothing rational about your anxiety, right? But the pandemic has rationalized everyone's anxiety.
okay?
It's not false. What we've seen in the news is real. Maybe what we've experienced in our own family, within our own circles, that's real, right? And so to discount the way somebody is feeling and to identify it as irrational is very hard to do in this season.
Okay.
And I think there's a separation between when you talk from parent to child, there's your trauma, there's my trauma, and then there's a collective trauma amongst us as a family, as a unit. And I think that one of the things that is, kind of driving that is that it's a collective trauma. I don't know what to tell my kid because I don't know what to tell myself. Like, this is terrifying for a lot of people. And I have anxiety, and I've kind of had to re-enter the world as a living, breathing human. So I get it. It's a difficult line to balance, but I think that we need to, as parents, kind of let ourselves understand that this is our trauma too. This isn't just your child re-enter. This is, everybody is dealing with some form of this anxiety, and it's okay to have these thoughts. Okay, so how now as a family, and then also as individuals, are we going to manage it? I think it's about making a plan to kind of address these feelings. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, Trina, but I think it really does have to do with, okay, what are we going to do collectively and individually to kind of deal with these kind of things that are really scary for us?
Absolutely. You recognize that you need help and your child needs help as well, right? So seeking help to help calm the system, both of your systems, is huge. Because I think one of the things that you identified is there's my trauma, there's their trauma. And I think as a parent, it's just so important for us to address our stuff. Because if we don't address our stuff, then we do put that, it becomes generational.
Right.
right? We don't, we definitely, because I mean, a lot of us have stuff that's passed down, right? And so, well, and I think when it comes to just historical trauma, period, we have a lot of stuff that was passed down from generation to generation. So it's figuring out where do I start, right? Seek that help, and then make sure if you're recognizing some signs in your child, talk to them about it. Leading by example is huge. So if you're saying, hey, I've gotten the help, you're taking some of that stress off of them. But I do believe in this season, our kids are more apt to want and desire help than us at times. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm seeing. Like the younger generation, they're more open to it. So the stigma, some of the work that we're doing, I believe in reducing the trauma is helping for their generation, but we still have a whole generation in the middle of that there's still that stigma that we need to break.
I was thinking as you all were talking about the fear being contagious, and what happens when the person who you are looking to for strength is in a position of an anxious state, if you will, and how do we model that? Because what you identified, Jalen, is I didn't go ballistic because she was in this state. That I had to be calm when inside I was like screaming. You don't realize what's going on, and I think from a parent's perspective, and from a sort of that you have to try to remain calm when you're hearing things that can be rather shocking, and you see behaviors that are rather shocking. Um, I think about, and this is the other challenge I think that you did not have, Jalen, and that is that you have an individual who will self medicate, and try to deal with all of this anxiety through alcohol or drugs or some other means, and try to quiet themselves.
No, Sapphire is definitely self-medicating. That is important. That is what I want to be clear that she was self-medicating prior to that, which is actually what triggered the bipolar episode. So just on knowledge and GP, marijuana is good for a lot of different illnesses, but it is not good for BPD. So it can actually cause that fracture that you see between the manic and that really calm state. And that's actually what contributed to the manic episode, was the fact that she had been trying to self-medicate to treat the anxiety portion or the manic portion of her illness. So yes, we dealt with that too. And then her trying to kind of understand in the facility that the marijuana was not a good drug for what she was needing it for, that the medication they give you for bipolar mania will address the anxiety that you have issue with. So yeah, she worked through that, and that's okay. Again, I'm not really. It was tough, but yeah, she was self-medicating, so that was an issue.
That right there was worth the whole time we've been on here. That's the first time, because I have never heard anyone actually articulate, because there's so many people who are trying to use marijuana as a way of dealing with life.
Well, I mean, for anxiety, there are a lot of doctors, and I honestly agree with them. If you just have generalized anxiety disorder, marijuana might be something that works for you, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
However, if you got bipolar mania, or if you have it running in your family, and you, because Denasia Sapphire's father is diagnosed as well, but like if you have that as something that runs in your family, weed is probably not the way. It's not the way for you. It's probably going to increase that fracture. And that was something that I had to explain to to Sapphire, I'm not condemning your choice of using this as a substance. What I'm saying is it's not helping your disorder. So
Okay.
we need to find out, if we're going to be using marijuana, you need to find out what it's good for and what it's not good for. Every medication ain't for everything.
Right,
You
right.
can't
Yeah.
take anti-anxiety medicine solely if the only disorder that I have is a depressive disorder. I got to use the right medication for the right issue. And that goes the same way with self-medicating. Alcohol also increases the fracture. And if you've ever seen, somebody who is bipolar drunk, that's a real situation you don't want to be in. So I would say, yes, she was self-medicating. We did have to address that. She is right now not using anything, no alcohol, no drugs. She is in treatment and making sure that she takes her meds as needed every night.
That is good right there. I hope and pray that there are parents and even some who struggle with this who can hear that, because they don't realize the damage that they're doing to themselves, and realize that, listen, I recognize, and again, like you identified, I think, I'm okay with you using marijuana if that works for you. I know that them PTS folks with PTSD, that works for them. That they need that. But there are others, like you said, who it doesn't work for you. It's not helping you. It's doing more damage than good. But I think knowing the diagnosis, which is also the other challenge, is getting to the point of what is my real issue, and being able to ask for that help, getting to someone who will help you to understand it, because one of the first things that we look at when we talk about Celebrate Recovery is, it says my life has become unmanageable. And that unmanageable says that things are not working the way they should work, and things are getting worse, not better. And I'm trying everything I have, and then finally surrender and say, listen, this is unmanageable. I need to get help. And sometimes it is that detoxing. And then detoxing also with people who have not realized, because this is the other thing, undiagnosed disorders, if you will, you trying to fix them in a way that they can't be fixed. I don't care how much you smoke or how much you drink, you're not going to fix this problem. In fact, you're making it worse. So having to detox and then get the help that you really need. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Because you think about it like this, is if you have a mood disorder, you don't want anything that is going to alter your mood. You want to balance your moods. Okay, so that's the thought. So weed alters your mood. It makes you more calm. It doesn't balance you. So what you need, if you have a mood disorder, if you are hearing voices, if you have a fractured kind of, really high highs and really low lows, you need something to balance you out. You don't need something to bring you down or lift you up. You need something to make you like this. And so that's kind of the thought process. If you have something that has you at extreme levels, then using something to bring you to the opposite extreme is not going to help. You need something to balance you. And generally that means you're going to have to go to a therapist or somebody who's a professional. So,
yeah. And then, well, and not just necessarily a therapist alone if there's a chemical imbalance.
right.
What we're talking about here is how drugs actually impact your dopamine and your serotonin, right? So your dopamine receptors and your serotonin. So these are chemicals in your brain that is being impacted or altered by any type of drug, which is one of the reasons why a psychiatrist might prescribe the drug to help with that imbalance. So if the drug that you're taking, like Jaylyn did she explained it very, very, very well. If the drug that you're taking has a negative impact on your diagnosis, the chemical imbalance that you're experiencing that is causing your diagnosis, then it's like taking I have to be careful because some medications they do use for, but it's like taking maybe a heart medication for diabetes.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yes, that's good. Yeah. This has been good. I pray that that others who will hear this and now have a better understanding, even as it relates to your child, to a family member, and realizing what's really going on. Because sometimes when you don't understand um, this area of mental health, and understand that, listen, we'll call them a crackhead, we'll call them all kinds of stuff, and not realize, hey, they're just trying to deal with something that they couldn't articulate and did not have access to actually get diagnosed for. And so we really want to be able to help individuals say, listen, had you thought about, detoxing and then getting some help? And so I'm grateful. Thank you, Jalen, for that. Katrina, Jalen, would you mind closing us in this time of prayer, praying for those who are out there who may be going through this as a parent, or even as a loved one of someone who's going through that, might be going through it themselves.
Sure. All right. God, we thank you for all that you've shown us, revealed to us in today's conversation. And we ask, Lord, that you would just touch those parents who are dealing with a child and don't know where to turn. God, we ask that you would just help to give them guidance, help to guide them to resources, to help that they need in order to make those decisions. God, we want to ask that you would just give them the peace of mind in knowing that caring for your child at any age is the right decision to make. We ask that you would just continue to touch minds and hearts and continue to give people peace and the strength they need to make sound decisions. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Again, thank you for joining us. Katrina, you have any last things you want to share? Or
Oh, absolutely not. I think Jaylene did. Thank you. Thank you for coming on board, Jaylene. We appreciate you. And it was good to see everybody joining us today. So,
yes. Remember, there'll be some information put out for the event that's coming up. I think both of them, as a matter of fact, for the anniversary and also for the Arizona Trauma Informed Summit that's going to be held virtually. Again, this is Bob Talk. We're so grateful you joined us. We'll see you next week on Bob Talk.
bye, everyone.